Welcome to everybody as I minimize this and get my notes up. All right. So I don't remember which all ones of you were with us in part one. So part one is online. The recording, the entire outline will be online in a day or so after tonight's session. And once I go through tonight's session, I'll get that up online in the next day or so. And so the complete lesson, the two-part lesson for marketing and branding will be online there for those that are interested in taking a look at that. We talked about several things. Primarily last time, we focused on the marketing part of the marketing and branding and brought out a few examples, talked about a few ideas on what the mindset is, what the four phases of a seeker's decision to visit the church. And I know that we just talked about this also at the Northern Summit that we were just in. I don't believe you were in that session, Brother Marshall. I forget, to be honest with you. But we did it there also. But I only made it up to about where I made it last time here. So that being what it is, But so the four phases of a seeker's decision to visit a church, and then specifically to visit your church, just to bring us back to speed here, was first of all that need recognition phase, number one, them recognizing they have a need in their life and beginning to look around to see what their options are to maybe meet or solve that critical need. Then there's that information search, number two. That's where we got to make sure that we've got plenty of information in their hand already from previous mailings or whatever, door hangers, somehow advertisements, to let them know that we're there and what we're about. And then they evaluate those alternatives. We're not the only church that is trying to reach out to people, so they then evaluate their alternatives. And then, of course, the final and fourth phase of a decision, of the seeker's decision, is making that decision of what door they're going to walk in. And we, of course, hope and pray that it is our door. The very last thing that I talked about was on the the difference between marketing and outreach, the difference between those two. And there's a subtle difference, really. I mean, I guess really, like I said, there's a big difference, but sometimes it's hard to distinguish what that difference is. And so for the sake of our discussion, I was looking at outreach as our follow-up to people that are responding to our marketing efforts. You know, when we're just sending mailers or we're doing door hangers, we can say, oh, well, that's a part of our outreach program. And yes, that falls, for me as an outreach director, I consider that to fall under the scope or under the umbrella of the outreach department. But each one of these marketing and outreach specifically have their own unique function. And so, again, for the sake of distinguishing the two, I look at the outreach part in relation to marketing as the follow-up to the people that are responding to our marketing efforts. Now, you know, if I'm doing a home Bible study with somebody, obviously that's not marketing. That specifically is that is hardcore outreach. I'm one-on-one, or a family on my couple on a family, my wife and I, teaching a home Bible study. If I am whatever I'm doing, if I'm involved in bus ministry, you know, and working to get families coming and children coming and so forth, that you could say that is specifically that's an outreach endeavor. What I look at marketing is where we start to do advertising, whether it's a billboard, whether it's a newspaper, whether it's the mailers that are so important. I cannot stress enough the importance of mailers. I know we live in a digital age today, and we have many marketers and people involved with social media that would try to tell us that social media is the way to go, and it is in many ways. Obviously, social media, you cannot not be a part of social media in today's world, and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and those things. And we're going to talk about them in a few minutes. But the bottom line is this: as far as advertising, there is a reason why you still get all the mail pieces you get. That's because advertisers know statistically that the best return, the best bang for the buck, so to speak, is still that getting a piece of information in a family or a person's hand. And so you can't exclude just what, if you want to call it that, the old school or old fashioned marketing technique of using those postal mailers. They do work. We still use them. I've used them in various churches that I've been in and worked with, and I find them to be very, very effective. Now, the key though is to not blend in with everything. You got to maybe brainstorm with some people to get some good, your creative people, to get some good ideas, good wording, good pictures on there, a good message that you're trying to do, or a series of messages. And I'll show you how that ties in with branding in just a little bit here. But again, the outreach side, what I consider to be our follow-up to people that are responding to our marketing efforts. And of course, in addition, this would include involvement in any soul-winning endeavor. That's the outreach side. But no doubt there is going to be a crossover regardless of how we try to define it. Marketing is the infrastructure that will enable us to have a continuous flow of people to influence with true Bible doctrines. So although obviously we want to teach people, we want to get it ingrained in the minds of the saints that everybody has a part in connecting and reaching lost. I'm a strong advocate of personal evangelism in the sense of just our own community, those people that we see all the time in our sphere of influence, that personal evangelism in that way, that influence where the time is right, inviting them to church or seeing if you can get an open door for a Bible study. That is obviously the number one way. That's the best bridge, the strongest, those connections, friends, relatives, associates like business associates or work associates, and neighbors. We call it FRAN. That is the number one way. But included in an overall program for church marketing, or for growing a church and having this continuous flow, we've got to have some marketing plan. You cannot just rely on that steady influx of people walking in your door without there being, without them somehow becoming aware that you exist. Believe it or not, we still do a healthy amount of yellow page advertising for our schools, especially. And so we use many different methods. Everybody make sure their computer is turned off, please. I'm not computer, I'm sorry, your microphone, I'm sorry. Make sure your microphone is turned off. We get feedback. Thank you. All right. So marketing is that infrastructure that will enable us to keep a steady flow of people coming in. And that's what we need, obviously. We need God to send folks by. So branding, let's again talk about branding. Branding is the process involved in creating a unique name and image for a product in the consumer's mind, mainly through advertising campaigns with a consistent theme. Branding aims to establish a significant and differentiated presence in the market that attracts and retains loyal customers. Let me pause here for a second. I realize now I did not send our outline out. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, this is a part 2 of an outline that I sent with the email of our part 1. You will be able to get this outline on our website on the resource page, along with the video from part 1 and this video. This is a live recording that we're videoing, and the video from this part 2. So it'll all come together if you listen to 1 and 2 and copy down the PDF outline. They're online. The outline, in fact, is online now under our resource tab. Okay. So I apologize. I didn't send that out to the ones that may be joining us for part 2 that did not join us for part 1. So anyway, you may have to take a few notes here tonight, but we want to be differentiated in the marketplace. We don't want to just blend in with all churches. Of course, that is the ideal optimum goal for any business or church. And so branding has 2 aspects. First of all, coordinating all marketing collateral, I want to stress that, all marketing collateral, signage, fonts, colors, logos, etc. We cannot use, one logo on our business card as a pastor and another logo, on our church bulletin or Connect. We call ours Connect Point. We send it out by monthly. Our Connect Point, and another logo on your sign out front. You can't do that. You need to develop a good logo, hopefully not one that is like cliche that everybody uses, but a good church logo that distinguishes you a little bit in the city that you're in, and something catchy and attractive. And everything needs to have that logo on there. Think about the Nike logo. Think about the Apple logo. Think about Starbucks. Think about all those enterprises that are out there that have their image just branded in our mind. Affleck's Insurance with the duck or whatever that thing is, the goose, whatever that crazy white thing is. But smart businesses learn quickly how to distinguish their product in the marketplace, and it's usually done through a very smart branding process. And again, where's that word or even the notion of branding come from? Well, think about cattlemen who take a hot iron with an insignia on it, maybe something pertaining to their family or initials or whatever, and they literally burn that image into the hide of that animal, of that cattle, and so then it's distinguished among all the cattle, so to speak. And so branding is supposed to do the same thing. It's supposed to indelibly emblazon an image in the minds of people in your city, that when they think of a church or when your name comes up, there's an image that comes to their mind. There's just a whole set of ideas and so forth that come to their mind when they think of what you're about, and it happens through this branding. But branding, it's defining and distinguishing who you are in the marketplace. So, marketing, branding is not a difficult process. If it's something that is so important. If we send a mixed message, the Bible talks about, if we blow a trumpet, and talking about speaking in tongues, if there's that uncertain sound, Paul said, who will know to arise for the battle? If the horn is not played in what they know, that when they blow that horn to charge into battle, is what basically the analogy that Paul is using in the 14th chapter of 1 Corinthians there, and talking about the gifts of the Spirit. It's that unclean sound, or unclear sound. He's saying, if there's an unclear tone, who's going to arise to go to the battle? And so it is, if you take that and use that thought process for our marketing. Again, and I've walked into churches and seen poorly written materials, misspelled words. I use an example on when I was just at our Northern Summit with Missions America here this last weekend. I literally, when I was out in our Western District, was handed a business card from a well-known pastor, good guy. I feel bad that this happened, and I guess he hasn't noticed it, but I need to pick up the phone and call him and kind of let him know. But on this card that was otherwise an average business card, an okay business card, on the bottom of it, the card itself was dark. On the bottom of it, in very large letters, was the words, "You're invited." Now, here's a card a pastor's giving out to people. And when I say you're invited, I'm talking Y-O-U-R, not Y-O-U''RE, as in you are invited. I'm saying you're invited, which I'm assuming who I'm talking to here understands the difference in those words. And so those are the kind of thing. Now, first of all, as I mentioned, I'd fire the printer. I'd never use that printer again for printing something like that not catching it themselves. But see, those are the kind of things that we want to avoid. People will look at that And they'll think, well, there's an uneducated person, and the person I'm talking about is not an educated person. He's a wonderful preacher, and so that's not this. That's not it at all. But there were people that would think that that would look at that card and say, oh my God, I can't believe he put that like that. I can't believe he spelled that like that. I can't believe he doesn't know the difference. And so right away it begins to plant a doubt in their mind. And what we're talking about, what branding does, understand. What branding does is a part of the overall message that we send. So do we want our message to aid our credibility, or do we want it to begin to infringe upon our credibility, begin to diminish our credibility? And you would say, oh, well, something that simple wouldn't do that. Oh, well, I beg to differ with you. It certainly will. It's something that I noticed immediately, and had I not known the person, I'm the type that would have said, I can't believe they did something like that. But, and I'm not alone in that category. And so branding is all about us knowing that we need to send a message about who we are. We need to learn to define who we are and what we're about. And it needs to be on or filter through everything we do in the way of our visual collateral. And I mean our signage in our church, our sign in front of the church, the bulletins that we put out, any business cards we put out, any flyers that we put out, any door hangers we put out, any postcards that we mail, any newspaper advertising, any phone yellow page advertising we do, any kind of advertising whatsoever, whatever we're doing. It even goes as far as the signage on our vans or buses when we're doing bus ministry. A bus or a van can in a city be some of our greatest advertising. I mean, buses, people pay good advertising to have. I don't know if you've noticed, some of you that live in big cities, but buses now are loaded with advertising in big cities. The reason they are is because any moving vehicle like that is seen often they're rolling billboards, man. They're rolling messages about various products and so forth. And so and smart advertisers know that. And so everything needs to send clearly the same message, that repetitiveness over and over and over again of who you are, your logo, what even colors, your color spectrum that you use can't be all over the prism. You got to contain it. Say, what image do we want to portray? What you get the idea. So let's look at some marketing ideas here or branding ideas and best practices. The first thing you need to do is what you should be doing, if you don't already know it, is getting your demographics. And the reason I say that, and I'll just use extreme cases here, wouldn't it be crazy to spend a lot of marketing money and going into a city, and boy, you're saying, man, I'm going to really hit the young marrieds in this city, and come to find out that 70% of the people of your city are retired people, right? You understand what I'm saying? And so, or vice versa, you go into a university town, but you just decide for whatever reason that you're going to market, retirees. I mean, first of all, you got to get your demographics. And I'm using extremes, I understand, but I'm using that to make a point. So get your demographics to know what is, who's in my city, what is my market, what is my overall market. And then from that, you may have a varied market. So you begin to identify your market, who your market is, your demographics. So then you need to work on, and this will take some thought, it'll take some prayer, it'll take some really thinking about. You might need to get some counseling on it even, but you need to then define your target audience. Define your target audience. Well, how do you define your target audience? What would cause you? What would make that definition that, okay, here's what my target audience will be? It's not something that we just can sit here and say, oh, because I personally like this type of individual, so I'm going to go after this type of person. I'm going to go after this market. That's not exactly all that it's about. First of all, we need to analyze what your church strong points are. What are the strong points in your church? In other words, what groups are you best administering to right now? Now, I don't know the size of any church that might be listening to this video down the road or that are joining me here tonight, I don't know anything about any size of church. Some of you I do, but for the most part, I don't, for all intent and purposes. So you need to identify right now where you are, what best you can minister to right now. See, we don't want to do marketing for something and say, wow, look, that's really cool. I got them to my church, man. I'm doing really great at marketing. Well, the problem is if you bring people in that you can't relate to and can't minister to, can't meet their needs, you wasted a lot of marketing energy and time. That's why some people will come to a church and they'll be there. They'll maybe be moved by the message, maybe not, but maybe moved by a message, get the Holy Ghost, and you don't see them back again. They're there 1 or 2 services. They begin to realize, hey, this is not a place I can relate to. This is not a place that's meeting my need, and they're out the door. And so again, we're wasting time, we're wasting energy, and we're wasting marketing money. And so, and all those things are very valuable. And so we need to make sure we understand who we are best ministering to right now. And I underline in my outline right now, because as your church grows and you bring in people and you begin to learn what their gifts and their talents and their passions are, you may find that suddenly a whole new door or a couple of different doors open just by virtue of the ministries that you have now won through whatever processes you're using early on in your marketing to get people in your door. And so it can change. Just because you start with a certain focus does not mean that's where you end up a couple of years from now. So bear that in mind. But you just want to make sure that what you're marketing to is somebody that you've got, you're real good with. You do very well at. So this is what will help you define your branding and your marketing strategy. When we're talking to people through our various marketing, whether it's written marketing, whether you're using, different Facebook Live announcements or Instagram, little videos on Instagram, which are real big on Instagram and so forth. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Whatever way you're communicating with the market, we need to learn not to use Christianese, I call it, or people call it Christianese. In other words, just, we have a certain church lingo that we use that if we're not careful, we can just begin to presume that anybody we talk to understands what we're talking about, and so, try to talk in just very plain and simple terms. We don't have to sound overly spiritual in our communication in our marketing materials. Okay, just use plain language, direct plain language, not Christianese. Marketing, as I'm sure all of you have discovered, will not always produce immediate results. It's not like there is a one-on-one return. We may send out a mailing in a quarter of 5,000 postcards, and we may get, through a period of time, we may get 10, 15, maybe more, but 10 or 15 guests out of that, 10 or 15 guests. And so it's a matter of building awareness. Now, once you start doing something consistent, like consistent marketing on a quarterly basis through the mailers and so forth, and you're doing some consistent marketing, overall, you're getting your name and your church in front of people. And so again, think back to what I talked about on the marketing side of that person's 4-phase process of beginning to recognize their need and doing their information search. And here you go, they're already familiar with who you are. And you may have hit a hot spot in one of your mailers or some of your advertising that they feel like they can connect with that body. They can connect with your church. But they can't do it if they don't know you're there and they don't know what you're about. So that's the importance of always keeping the information out there, because we don't know what timing God will use to create the interest in them, the desire, the need in them, that they begin to do that market search. Okay. All right. Marketing is your area of marketing is a great place to employ the talents and skills of your youth. Man, obviously, young people, high schoolers, even some junior high schoolers, they know Instagram. They know the ins and outs of Facebook and Instagram and all their social media, Facebook, and so, man, tap those skills where you can, helping out with, even with your website. Some of them, you got high schoolers that, they're building websites, they know a lot about what they're doing. You don't always have to spend money outside the church to get it done. However, and I'll get to that when we talk about websites, that's assuming they really know what they're doing. Again, some are more skilled than others. So you do want to have a good product, especially when it's speaking about your church and representing who you are. You want to make sure what's getting out there, but they can sure be a big help. And so that's like a two-edged sword. They're giving you the help you need from a millennial's perspective of reaching that younger age groups with more up-to-date current marketing methods, various social media. And at the same time, you're using your young people, in something that will be a blessing to them, because you're getting them involved, which is very, very important, obviously. Marketing done properly gives you the ability to define how people see your church. Now, listen to what I'm saying here. You may not be spending a lot of time or thought or money on marketing right now, and you may think, well, I don't have the time or the money, or whatever your situation is. The lack of intentional marketing and branding simply allows people to form their own opinions and speaks volumes to them about your church. If there's no marketing going out, if there's no good branded message that's clear, that you're sending a clear message to the community, that people notice that you're trying to send a message, then you're just expecting them to pick up whatever they do when they walk in your door. You have no control then whatsoever of what message they're receiving. Understand that. They're getting a message, but you have not helped at all to form that message or directed it intentionally of what you want them to understand and see about your church. They're going to form an opinion. They're going to make decisions. So whether you do it intentionally or they just do it by their own observation, and some will observe, hey, they don't have much marketing, or hey, they don't have much idea about branding. I'm not clear on the message of what this church is supposed to be what they're trying to do or say, what message they're speaking. You're sending a message either way. One is intentional. One, unfortunately, is unintentional. But both of them are going to be, either one of them will be received by the public when they come in contact with us or our marketing material, or lack of it, or walk in our doors. Okay. Good logo is important. A clear mission statement. A clear mission statement is important. Simple, concise. A mission statement is not like a paragraph. A mission statement is at most a sentence or maybe two. If you contain it to one sentence, the fewer words your mission statement is, the more succinct you're getting your message across, the better off you are, because you want ultimately guests to know what your mission statement is, and certainly your saints. You want your people to know this is what we rally around. This, because your mission is a concise statement of your passion, Pastor. That's your mission statement. It is a concise statement of your passion. That's your mission statement. And so you want to make it short, concise, clear, and powerful. Just going to touch on a few things here. Use coordinated colors. You should use, according to marketers, no more than 3 different fonts in your marketing collateral. No more than 3 different fonts. It doesn't impress anybody to use all kind of curly Q and see how many fonts we can get in there, and and all this kind of stuff that we may think looks really neat. The bottom line is, marketers that are in this business tell us that we should not use more than 3 different fonts on our marketing material. And so we should stick with that. And they should be fonts that complement each other, not that are so contrary that one is ultra modern and one goes back to the Victorian age, and and one is calligraphy, because we like those. We've got to make sure there's some harmony, some sense to the different fonts that we're using. They need to complement each other. All right. Some marketing and branding ideas here. First of all, and let me just open this up real quick here. We still have some folks with us. All right. So hopefully everybody's with me, hearing me, and because I don't see or hear anybody. So if you're writing messages or anything like that, I don't see them till the end, so I apologize. All right. Let's talk about some marketing and branding ideas here. Marketing and branding ideas. First of all, the very first and foremost that I have is website. And I could probably do a whole lesson on just talking about the website, but I'm not going to get into it. And I don't mean to be saying that like I'm a techie, that I know how to build websites. I know a little bit about websites. If I had to build a website, I'm sure that I could. But thank God we've got good people that handle our websites, and I've got a good company that handles my business website, so I don't really need to deal with it. But I will say this: in today's world, a website, you got to picture it like the front door to your church. You've got to picture it like people walking in the front door of your church. Our people do not, for the most part, most people today do not, when they want to go to a church or find a church, pick up the yellow pages and look for a church. Most people today, unless they're over 60, even over 70, will, and I'm over 60 and I don't use the yellow pages anymore. I'm not even sure I've got one in my home. But we go on the website and we look, we Google in our area, hey, whatever, Pentecostal churches in whatever city. And you want to make sure that you're ranked well. And when they find your website, that your website is professional, it is engaging, and oh Lord, and it's up to date. I cannot tell you the number of websites for churches that I go on that it's as if they originally had somebody build it and it looks okay, but then you go into any of their tabs or click on anything and you click on photos. There's 2 photos from 6 years ago. You click on events, and the most recent event right now was their Christmas program, right? And it's like there's nobody keeping up with it. They have a website because somebody said, hey, you should have a website, right? And so they got a website. So they think, well, we got that covered. Well, again, if you've got that kind of a website, right away, if somebody is searching via websites and they see a website like that, you're already getting points against you. If you have any other competition of Pentecostal churches in your city, believe me, you've already got points against you. You got to have a good website. It's worth spending the money. You don't need to spend a ton of money on a good website. My business website, I think, cost me, I don't know, $3,000 a couple of years ago or something, and it's adequate. It's about a 5 or 6 page website. It's it's an adequate website. I keep it basically up to date for my business. But our church website is a different story. My heart is not in my business. My heart is in my ministry, and so our church website, we have guys that, and a staff that make sure they keep that up to date for the most part, and keep it relevant, and it's a very active website. It's a good and thorough website, and that is important because your website speaks volumes about who you are. That's where you can get that message across. And you talk about branding, that's where you want to do a lot of branding right there. If you start with the branding from your website and work backwards, you would do well. To then use things that are already on your website, those colors, those fonts, the logo, and so forth. But you want to have a good, attractive website. Very, very important, and keep it up to date, man. If you've got a calendar of events on there, and service times, and phone numbers, and the website is the perfect place, man, to be posting. That's one of the places to be posting. Photos of things going on in the church, a link to Instagram, links to Facebook, links to Twitter, and whatever other social media that you're using, all those links to be up to date and active. There are social media, and this is from guides on using social media, marketing guides on using social media. Social media, in 3 words right now, the big three, if I can say this right now, that we need to be concerned with is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, I'm sure there's probably some young people that'll say, oh, no, I'm on this and I'm on this. Marketers tell us the big three right now: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So, and what we need to be doing on there, these are the three things that we need to be doing on there: doing, promoting, engaging, and encouraging. Everything that we're saying on our Facebook page, on Twitter, and on Instagram, and on our, of course, on our website, should be in the area of promoting something, saying something to engage people in whatever we've got coming up, engaging people in our message, engaging people in some way, and encouraging, giving uplifting thoughts, uplifting messages. Again, this is where, if you have a sharp young person, young adult, and you can put them over social media, and to kind of keep up with these things, you would do well to engage them in that role. Of course, you want to always make sure what is going up there, and that they do know what they're doing, and how to word things and spell and all that good stuff. But that's what our social media should be used for: to promote, to engage, and to encourage those that are tapping into our social media, tapping into what we're about. All right. Another area of that is an overflow of our marketing and our branding pertains to our guest follow-up. I think you would agree, if I were to walk into a store, all of us right now, let me even just use this example. Right now, when you look up anything, let's say you're looking for, I recently bought a new piece of luggage, for example. And I was, I take a while to find things. So over a couple of weeks, if I get a chance and I'm online, I'll look at this luggage here, Google this, or look at this, compare prices, compare what it is, and so forth. But as soon as I begin to do that, as you all know, anything, I don't care if I go on Facebook, I don't care if I go back on the web, there's little pictures, little ads that are following me all over the place already, like marketing, saying, hey, I know you're looking for this suitcase. I know you're looking for this. I know you're looking for that. And we're followed around by those things. Well, now let's think about the importance of guest follow-up. Let's say that's what they call a click store, right? When we go on the web, those stores are called clicks. Our churches are brick stores, clicks and bricks. Really, we should be combinations of clicks and bricks, but when it comes to our churches, that's the brick building, the brick store. And so when we get people coming in, customers, guests coming into our store, our church, right, we need to do some really good, sensible follow-up. Not overkill, where we chase them away, but some good, sensible follow-up. That's all a part of the marketing, and where the branding comes in there, again, is our follow-up with that same colors, those same fonts, the same logo, the same message. Hey, here, let's remember, good to have you, glad you came to see us, here's what we're about. So like we send out, and again, I'm not saying what we do is the best thing to do. I'm just saying here's what we do, and sometimes we change it up. But right now, what we're doing is just simply sending an email on Monday morning. We use MailChimp, and we had our guy that does all of our graphics and that kind of stuff work up a really, really nice template that has all the bells and whistles that links immediately to our website, a nice welcome from our pastoral family, with a beautiful picture of them on there, and clicking into anything from our interest groups to our event calendar to you name it, to our doctrine, on that template that they can click into anything. And so it's a really good kind of catch-all. And then we also text to them. We use the guest forms that we use are actually we use them on our cell phones and on our iPads. All of our hostesses all have all these, what they're e-forms. I use a company called JotForm, and I create, these electronic forms that, rather than, handing somebody a paper, we're handing them a digital device with just a few questions to get their information. And when they hit send, it immediately goes to my email. So I already have all their guest information. And then what I do after service is I then, if we're able to get their number or an email, I either text or email them a simple couple of questions survey that then kind of brings them to the next step, asking them their interest level in various ministries that we have, or if there's anything that we can do for them, just to try to get some feedback from them. We also, on Monday, we have a lady in the church who has the most beautiful, perfect handwriting and printing. It's amazing. So we send out thank you cards. Now, a lot of churches they'll go to, and the standard thing is, handwrite on the back or whatever, like a little postcard. They buy them in bulk, these little postcards. We had designed, we spent the time and the money to design a thank you card that is on a level of a nice Hallmark thank you card with a picture engraved in the front of the church, and our the beautiful colors that we use in the church. And it's like a thank you card that you would receive from somebody if you went to their home, that you would send somebody if you went to their home for dinner, or you had somebody over and they're the type that send, for those old school, like I came from, that they would actually send a thank you card for inviting your family over for dinner, or wherever they invited you. It's on that level, so that we stand out. It's in an envelope, it's not just a postcard in the mail, like a cliche, like, oh yeah, okay, with somebody, whoever wrote it, some card company. It's our own personalized card for that. And then, of course, during the week, we also try to follow up where we get a phone number and so forth, and where we're able, with a phone call, to see if there's anything, thank them for visiting, and to see if there's anything we can do for them, maybe even introduce the home Bible study, that sort of thing. But that's what our guest follow-up is. But when we get somebody to walk in our door, those are our prime prospects, as they say, prime prospects when they walk in a door like that. And we want to do everything we can to make that guest feel special, and we do that. Also, guest gifts are, and I thought I'd be able to get through this night. I want to really rush here. Our guest gifts are also, or any guest gift that you give when somebody comes. It can be anything from a nice mug with the church name and logo on it, and maybe filled with candy and covered with plastic, and a nice ribbon bow on it, or a t-shirt. I think down the road we may end up switching to t-shirts. I love the idea of t-shirts. People love t-shirts with the name of the church, and I went to FAC or whatever, I was at FAC Maryville, or something like that. Also, for guest gifts, when we open our new wing in a couple of months, when we get our sanctuary open, we're going to be having a bookstore, and we've got a coffee shop. So we're going to be giving a gift card, of course, to the coffee shop to redeem after service, so we can sit hopefully and chat with them. That's our game plan anyway. And so, depending on what your facility is and what you can do, you can give a $5, Starbucks card to people. Any guest is worth $5, right, to get to come in your door. And they're things that people will remember and appreciate. All right. And I know I'm running through these things quickly, just touching on them, just to kind of, get your mind thinking a little bit. Your bulletins, whether you put them out weekly. Now, we don't do a weekly bulletin. We do, I told you, one that is for 2 months at a time. We have a lot of stuff going on. They are beautiful connect points, very, very well done, with, like a trifold that opens, a large trifold. It's an 11 by 17 page. And it opens with beautiful color blocks of all the different things we've got going on, and the events that we've got going on, and so forth. So that's what we do. And again, it's all the same colors, same fonts. There's nothing that does not go through that process. We have one person or two people that do all of our visual stuff. So it's all consistent, the same message, same colors. The branding is always the same. Our branding is very, very important to us. You can utilize radio and TV. you know, depending on the city, depending on the stations, you can get free ads, you can get free airtime for nonprofit uh, nonprofit organizations. Many stations still do that. These are things just to check into to see when you can get some radio advertising. This Saturday, we're doing we try to do 4 big bridge events to the community a year, 4 a year. And bridge events, something what is on our property to just bring 1,000 people all around our church 4 times a year. One of them is our big trunk or treat. We do a big Christmas program that, you know, just fills the place with 1,000+ people. What we're doing this Saturday is we're just starting this year. Right now, I've been putting together a big car and motorcycle show. And we're expecting a couple hundred cars and motorcycles, antique, you know, cars and show cars and all, and pro mod cars. We have put out probably, I don't know, 1,000 flyers. We've got, this is where I was talking about radio. I got 4 radio stations to do advertising for us, announcement for us, free throughout various parts of Knoxville and Maryville. We put a big ad in the paper. We're using all forms of media, putting posters in stores and in motorcycle stores and car you know, sales, car lots and stuff like that, and contacting all kind of auto clubs, so forth, getting the word out. And so utilize any means that you can to get people to these various bridge events to your church. It could be just a cookout, man, just a big Friends Day barbecue that you crank up a few grills and you just say, you got some games and some, you know, a bounce house for the kids or whatever, just to get people out on your property, and you promote it real big, different things a couple times a year. All that is advertising. Letters, if you send letters, we're not sending any letters right now, but some churches I know do some pretty slick letter campaigns with guests and so forth. Church vans, I mentioned that. Rolling advertising. If you use a church van in talking about marketing, you know, you want to make sure it is as nice as you can possibly make it look. Clean, you know, nice signage on it that, again, corresponds, aligns with the message that your church is sending. It's rolling advertising everywhere it goes. Business cards, important, you know, hand out cards. Folks in your church, every leader that is working with any department should have their own card that, man, they're in a restaurant, they leave it, they meet somebody, oh, hey, you know, I go to FAC, I'm the outreach director for FAC, come sit with me sometime, come see, look me up, give me a call. That person's phone number on there, you know, all those things. Going out there, just simply giving a card out. It's very common to exchange, you know, business cards with people. Well, we need to engage as many of our saints in doing that. Door hangers. Our outreach teams, we have 4 outreach teams that go out, you know, once a month. We rotate, so they're only going out one Saturday for a couple hours a month. And we do door hangers. We have all of the availability of our forms to sign children up for bus ministry, but they're not specifically going out just for bus ministry kids and looking for bus ministry kids. They're going out and hanging door hangers. It's very non-intimidating, if I can put it that way. We're not going out knocking doors. That is something in most cities that you're not going to get a great response in today's world with the very jaded, skeptical and frightened society that we live in. Somebody just knocking on their door. We don't just open the door to people anymore. But so we just hang door hangers on there. And of course, they're trained, if somebody is there, to communicate them in just a simple, pleasant way, inviting them to a service. So those door hangers, I love them. Simple. You can hand out a bunch of them in a couple of hours. It's another excellent way to engage your young people. Make youth teams to, of course, go out with adults, but have some youth there to just run up to those doors, hang those door hangers, get that word out. Here's some things that are often not associated with marketing, okay? We don't think of these as marketing, but I want to tell you and very clearly that they are. And these are things we need to be very mindful of. And and some of you listening may not have any need. You might have all this stuff together in your churches that I'm talking about, but I will tell you that there are a lot of churches out there that I have been to that are absolutely, apparently oblivious to what I'm going to talk about right now. First impression, these are things, again, not normally associated, or we don't typically associate with marketing. The first impression that we give just of our grounds and our building. You know, is our building freshly painted? Is it presentable? You know, our grounds, do we keep our grounds, the grass nice, and, some nice flower beds or hedges or something that makes it look like it's pleasantly landscaped, something to make sure that our grounds look good. Do we have a parking lot that's cracked and, 2-foot weeds sticking up from the cracks in the parking lot? I'm just throwing these things out there. So, if we get people to come to our church, understand, again, I've mentioned it before, I will mention it again. People make a first impression in the first 8 to 10 minutes of any establishment that they walk in. So that first impression, that's why we call our ushers, our parking team, our hostesses, our reception desk team, those are just the live people. We call them our FIT team, first impression team. That's our first impression team, because those are the ones who are going to help us with a great, positive first impression. And our team does that. Believe me, we get complimented often from out-of-towners, from guests, and so forth, of how friendly, how comfortable people feel. That does make a difference to people. It's got to be something that we focus on. That absolutely is a part of our marketing. It can be, and it can be that right there can be an advertising killer or an advertising enhancer right there. When we advertise something, we need to deliver the goods. We cannot be accused of false advertising. Getting people to come is one thing, but delivering the goods is another. We need to be careful of over marketing the reality of what we are. Don't over market or oversell what you are just to get people out there. You'll be wasting your time, because when they come, they'll know immediately that you're not what you said you were. So you want to be sure that you're being honest with your marketing. People, again, so another thing not often associated with marketing, we never want people to be frustrated. We have a very large building. If we did not use real good signage, people would get angry in our building because they wouldn't find their children. They would not know where to bring their children. They would not know where all of our bathrooms are, many other things. They would not know where guest reception is. So good signage is important. They don't always want to walk around and ask a stranger, where is this? Where's the bathroom? Where can I change my baby's diaper? Whatever. You want them to know clearly. We outside of every classroom use those roll-up style banners that are about 5-6 feet high and about 18 to 24 inches wide, beautiful color. Clearly, when you look down our hall of classrooms, you know every class, the age, exactly where they're going. And it's that way with all of our signage. Clear signage is important. All these things speak to people subliminally. Wow, how organized. Look how clear. Look how easy they made it for me. That's all the part of marketing, all a part of marketing, folks, believe me. Again, I'm revisiting again that idea of the website. I cannot overemphasize the importance of a good website. 6 great insights discovered from good websites. Okay, number one insight. It's obvious they have invested in their website. Number two, the site is mobile friendly. Very important. Most people, I noticed that when even it's amazing, even in businesses, I own a commercial collection agency, and I have for many years. It's very downsized now and small, but I still own it. We were larger when I was in Florida at one time, but it is amazing to see the transition in today's world when I do the Google Analytics at the end of every month or so, and I look at where all the hits are coming from on my website, and it tells you what device they were in on. And most people, it's amazing, go into these sites with their cell phones. They don't sit on desk computers or laptop like I'm on right now. The device is usually an iPad or more often a cell phone. So we've got to make sure that our website is mobile friendly. When I say mobile friendly, it means that you don't have a page of your website when it's on the mobile that it doesn't fit on the mobile screen, that they've got to scroll sideways to get it all in or scroll down to see what's there. It sizes properly for a mobile device. Okay, got to make sure it's mobile friendly, because that is where most people are viewing it. And if you've ever viewed a site that is not mobile friendly, you understand how frustrating it is, and you usually don't stay on it very long. So, all right. Number three, we're talking about 6 great insights discovered from good websites. Obvious they have invested in the website. The site is mobile friendly. Number three, they write for the visitors, not for the saints. That's again where I was talking about that Christian ease. We're writing our website for people who do not know who we are and what we're about. Okay? We're not writing it for the satisfaction and the enjoyment of the saints specifically, even though it should be a very nice website, but it should be written in the mindset that we're talking to people who are not in the church, is what I'm saying. Our copy should be written with that idea in mind. Number 4, the website clearly explains what a first-time visitor needs to know. Again, just like I mentioned, the website is like the front door of your church. So it needs to clearly explain what a first-time visitor needs to know. Number 5, they make the visitor feel something positive about the church. When somebody goes on your website, they're wanting to feel the joy of your people, the love of your people. That's why it's important. People today are very visual. There's that old adage, and man, is it true today, 1 picture is worth 1,000 words. And so you want to have good photos of different things. Any event you do and your services, make sure you got somebody. I mean, it's so simple now. It's just Facebook Live and to take videos and snap little snippet videos and so forth, just with cell phones. If you could go onto our Facebook page and see the videos of our service and see how professional and how good they look. And I will tell you, the guy that does it uses a cell phone, sitting in the front row and walking around at different times. And I'm not talking about our webcast. I'm talking about our Facebook Live presentation is done with a cell phone. All right. So it doesn't take a lot of expensive equipment, is what I'm getting at, to look good, to make, and any event you do, showing, and then you're posting that on the website, posting that up there or on your Facebook page, making people feel positive about what's going on in your church. And then, of course, number 6, they have it as number 6, but it's the number 6 of those 6 great insights discovered from good websites. And none of these, to me, are rocket science if you think about them. Number 6 is all postings, events, calendars, pics, etc., are kept up to date, right? To let people know, hey, we actually are on our website more than twice a year. All right. Now, when you, I'm basically done with what I wanted to talk about. Basically, I've got 2 links on my outline here that when I post the outline, in fact, it's already posted, I believe, with the part 1. So if you go on that outline, you're going to see 2 links. One is for great ways to use Instagram. This is a guy, stevefogg.com. Good insight on the 8 great ways to use Instagram if you're on Instagram. And then he's also got a very good blog on various marketing and branding topics like I'm talking about, but for social media. This guy is very good, this Steve Fogg, in marketing churches and so forth. So I've got those links on there that you can, go into and check that stuff out. I'm sure there's a lot of other things, but those 2 stuck out to me as I was preparing for this as having a good bit of information, very concise on one website, so you're not having to travel all over the web to find different websites. So this second part of our marketing and branding video will be posted in a day or so, and then I'll be sure that I post this out, and I'm sure I did probably with the first video, but if not, I will post it with this, and then you'll have the whole thing. So I will leave with that. And so let me open this up. If anybody has any specific question or comment that I can maybe help you with real quickly here, I'll be happy to answer any questions. If anybody has any comments, any feedback. You got to turn on your mic, by the way, to do that.
Hey, Brother Schnitzer, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Who is this?
Rodriguez, Daytona Beach.
Oh, hey, Brother Rodriguez. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. Certainly appreciate that. We're after hearing this from you today. We don't have a website built for our church yet, but I feel like that's something we definitely need to get done.
Oh, absolutely.
Essential.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely essential. And I appreciate the insight on making it cell phone friendly. I never really thought about that as well. Do you recommend anyone? I mean, I don't really have anyone in my church that I can task with building this. When you said you had your website built, did you go through like a national?
Yeah, we have a couple of guys in our church that do it professionally. Also, they of course they're paid by the church to do it also, but they do it professionally. And for in the realm of websites being built, they're very, very reasonable. You can call either of them or check them out, and then check out and make sure, because again, I don't want to just tell you, hey, use this person. So check them out, see if it sounds reasonable to you, their price. But they do excellent work. So I can give you, I'll email you their names. Let me just get something to write on here.
Thank you. Absolutely, that would be great.
Okay, so two names for website. All right, I will certainly do that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. That was my real big question here.
My pleasure.
The next step.
My pleasure, my friend. Anybody else? Any questions? Anything I can help you with, like right now, before we